Sorry, we're a little late.
Hello.
Josue dunked on his little Nerf hoop, bent it, had to fix it.
Rob, Rob ruined everything.
Yep. Rob ruined everything. Okay, we should be winding it down, but we are just starting it up. A New Year's post game. Happy New Year's, everybody. January Celtics, the same as the December Celtics, at least to start. Um, uh, can't hit threes. That's not great. A lot of Tatum and Brown. That's not great. Ran into a good team on the road. That Denver game the first time when Denver came through here was like a cool benchmark victory for the Celtics. This is kind of more emblematic of what's going on. And of course, Denver shot the lights out. But, a lot of people will be like, oh, the Celtics, they shoot too many threes. They got to get back to. They actually didn't shoot a lot of threes tonight. They tried to attack. They got to the
They
free throw
adjusted,
line
yeah.
a fair amount. They shot well under their season average. They shot 33 attempts. But they just can't make anything, and that's a problem. And then obviously Denver made everything, so there's your difference.
Yeah, this is a weird
Yeah.
game.
Yep.
First quarter, I did think they settled. I did think they shot a lot. I think they were 61% of their attempts were from deep in that quarter. Missed a ton. That's kind of been a trend throughout December. I felt most games feels like they're like 0-5, and whether that lingers or not kind of swings the game. But they did adjust in the second. I thought Tatum got it together quickly there. I think he just took 1 3 the rest of the game. So everything he was doing was downhill. 14
Exactly.
free throw attempts. Jalen was great. Mid-range maestro continues and had a good 3-point shooting game as well. So you get great games from those two. And down the roster, nobody else could get involved much. I didn't think they used Eric White enough until the second half. Smart was horrendous shooting in this game. They just couldn't find a shot at all. Brogdon's in a bit of an extended slump right now, and then until the late in the game, we all know what's going on with Hauser right now. Only 18 Rob minutes, so couldn't get a ton of help there. Grant showed up for a quarter, but just not enough support for the Jays right now offensively from this team that continues to hang around the bottom of the league offensively since late November.
Yeah. There's lots of problems, and I did some numbers, and I'll put some up on the screen in a little bit, but nothing, not like insane research here, but they're at the bottom for everything in December. That's a really bad stretch. Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, offensive rating.
Exactly. Yeah.
The whole thing. So and that's amazing is they were so, yes, a course correction was understood, but they're so good. They're still first in offensive rating overall, despite being 27.
Well, they were the best offense ever before that.
Yeah, despite being
so it evened out in December. Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah, but they were 27th. 27th in December overall in offensive rating. I think 26th in 3-point percentage, 28th in overall field goal percentage. So the offense is a legit struggle right now and a legit concern. If you're not going to be getting stuff consistently from other people, not named Tatum and Brown.
Right, and especially going up against a team like the Denver Nuggets, who are just scorching hot going into this one, and they remember the history, right? They haven't been able to beat this team, beat the Celtics in a long time, and when they got out to that huge run, when they got to that huge start, I feel like the Celtics they did their best to hang around, but it just wasn't the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. So what's the problem? So what's the problem?
I've
Bobby,
said all along,
Bobby.
I don't think they generate enough quality looks right at the rim, like right inside in this game too. You look at their shot chart. I can put it up on the screen, John. I know you don't like that, but they're great when they get inside, and some of that's transition, right? A lot of things get easier when they get out on the run, and I think that's some of the thing. That's what they usually try to hang their hat on when they're struggling to shoot. But in the half court, they just do not create quality looks right at the basket. You always hear threes and layups. They just have threes. And I've sort of been tracking that stat throughout the year. Feels more often when they're going to the rim, it's to drive and kick. And not enough guys are going in there to finish. And you're not getting great finishing in there from guys aside from Brown and Tatum. Now, all that spacing, it kind of goes hand in hand because you're getting 70% shooting there from Brown and Tatum because of good spacing, I think. But in games like this where the threes aren't falling, Nuggets can pack it in a little bit. I think they really just jam most of the drivers, and you ended up with a pretty messy night. Turnovers didn't help them either in this one at times. Again, I just think they're so dependent on the three. How many times have they really won this year when they shot bad from three? They had one recently, but overall this year, it's kind of make or miss for them.
Yeah, but taking advantage of times when Jokic was on the bench, I feel like when you seeing Brogdon struggle the way he's been struggling on offense, it makes it really hard for them to sort of find that momentum, find their rhythm. And then you look at Marcus, he was finding guys, he made some really good plays, some good passes, but he couldn't find his offense, and they needed it. They needed it in this one.
And on nights like these, he starts pressing a little bit. He shot a lot in this game for how poorly he shot, and some bad decisions too. I thought Tatum took bad jump shots in this game.
Tatum was forcing the issue a little, but again, he was trying to be aggressive, probably missed some.
And Brown's doing that too, right? He's just hitting everything.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's the difference between Brown and Tatum forcing the issue is Tatum ends up in traffic and has to hit a very, difficult shot, oftentimes way off balance. He didn't get by his guy. It's contested with help coming over. Brown's just more explosive getting to the rim, so oftentimes he's just beating his guy straight up. That's always the difference when they kind of put their heads down and go. But again, you had to like Tatum's approach because he was playing through contact and drawing fouls, so that was fine. He was just a little sloppier today, trying to press a little bit when I think he realized early he couldn't feel it from 3-point line. When he misses dead square or easy early ones, top of the key, you always kind of know like you can tell a little bit there. So I mean, he did, to his credit, he got away from it. We've seen a lot of games where that's not falling early and he'll end up 3 for 11 or 3 for 12. So he did get away from it, but he definitely was trying to force a little bit. The smart stuff, I don't get it at all because I mean, it's the easiest. The numbers on him are just so obvious. And I think one of you guys put it out today? The stat where it's an insane stat where when he shoots more than 5 threes, the record is ridiculously bad. When he shoots fewer than 5 field goals total, they don't lose. We've been over this. The smart that's necessary is the smart that doesn't do that kind of stuff. It's really weird when he does. And I don't know, maybe he's looking around and he's seeing other guys not hitting shots and he's thinking, I got to take a little on myself. Maybe he's bored. I don't know. I can never guess why. I also am always worried that the defense is kind of gaming the Celtics into finding open shooters that are the open shooters that they want taking shots, which is always the fear with this team. Because if they have a true green light and the ball keeps swinging to an open Al Horford, an open D White, and an open Marcus Smart, and Joe's well, those are the shots we want you to take, you have to start thinking whether or not the other team is willing that to happen more than you guys are working for that shot.
I always think that's the fear, especially in big moments for this group. Can you actually get a lineup out there that effectively spaces the floor? And we saw it to start the year because they had the Hausers and the Grants and the Whites hitting at a ridiculous rate. And now Smart's down at 32% since late November. And White, certainly you can coax into some shooting jump shots. I thought they did that with him in this game effectively in the corner. Yep. And he's 27% since that November 30th mark where things kind of went awry there. I think there's issues of guys not really shooting with the same confidence that they did earlier in the year. I look at White and Hauser particularly there, and you're not really getting those guys as aggressive as they were before, and that carries over to Smart. I do see what you're seeing, John, there in terms of him pressing because they need a third option. I don't know what's going on with Brogdon right now. It's really puzzling.
Yeah, Brogdon's a mess.
Is he just under the weather, Bobby? I'm thinking maybe that's it. Maybe he's just not feeling 100%.
Could be. He looked rough that game he missed. I saw him in the locker room kind of bent over that game.
He looks like he's aged 10 years in the last month. I don't know what happened. I swear. But everything that he does, his ability to get to the rim, he was getting there early. He was getting there before, even if he wasn't shooting well.
And you shouldn't be worn down playing the minutes he's playing.
No, he looks like he's gassed or like he's aged. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's something nagging, that they're not really talking about.
Well, he was sick. Yeah, he was sick.
And I know he was sick with the non-COVID,
Yeah, it's a non-COVID illness. I don't think it's a physical thing. Hopefully not.
I don't know. He's been slipping for a little bit here, and he was so dependable from behind the arc, and he's still shooting 37% over the stretch. But
At a certain point, you might have to start rethinking a lot of things if you're the Celtics, and you're not there yet. This isn't like a look. I'm not a trade smart, fire Missoula panic button guy because I do think there's enough talent here, but they might need to start rethinking.
But let's look at the formula, John. Forget the wins and losses because they're scrapping out some wins because of great defense here. They've really turned up the heat on that end.
Yeah.
The offense has been bad for a month plus now, and yeah, that's roughly the same amount of time that it was historic before that. So you do have to start to rethink what you're doing right now and what your identity is. And Rob's back. I think that makes a big difference. I keep saying it over and over and over again. Josue and I have had this debate. We're going to keep having it. You got to get this guy involved.
I don't get it. I've been saving this one, and we can go here now.
Where's he rank on your best players?
Look, it's not even
he's
that.
Third or fourth,
what
right?
What are you doing when he's out there?
Yeah.
This is the second year in a row you got a coach who won't tell people. Get him the ball every once in a while. He just doesn't touch it. He doesn't touch the ball. It's all offensive rebound putbacks and the occasional lob. They don't give him the ball, and he's such an effective passer. And the one time he gets the ball in the block, what does he do? He faces up, puts one dribble, blows by his guy for this lightning quick reverse layup. And I was like, what was that? Like, you can do that if he's guarded by some goof. Why aren't you giving him the ball a little bit? He's so friggin' athletic. They don't get him the ball at all. Give him the ball high above the key when you're running some actions off of that. Get some cutters going. He finds people. They don't involve him at all. And not only that, like it's the tunnel vision where they miss opportunities to get him the ball. And we've seen all the things he can do. It's not just catching it above the rim. He can catch very tricky bounce passes in traffic and collect them. He has amazing hands. You can get him the ball on the interior and let him go up. He shoots 80% from the field, for Christ's sake.
He's like 21 to 26 coming in tonight.
My
from the
God!
field.
Just let him have some touches close to the rim. What are we doing? Sorry, that one was.
No, I'm there with you, John. We're back in
building up for a while. We're back to it, and I'm like,
we're
what
back
are we
in
doing
2021.
here?
He's coming off the bench. He's playing 20 minutes. He's taking 3 or 4 shots.
And I can tell you, when you're gifted a 40-minute rest period, and then they came out of it, and they chose not to have Rob out there, also didn't make sense to me. You needed stops and buckets and rebounds and maybe some second chance points. Why Al? Why go Al there? Why go Grant there? What are we doing? Like, I didn't get that
it's
at
like
all.
they didn't trust him against Jokic. Maybe that's right. Jokic killed them either way. So it's not like what they were doing was working.
They would throw other options at him though, right? To sort of make him to rattle Jokic because he was comfortable. He was in his bag. I mean, he got to that triple-double in a hurry.
He was super limited early. The rotations they're choosing with Rob, to me, are kind of strange. I was looking back at last game. He played a very limited stint in the first quarter. They played a long stint between like the late first into the second, and then they brought him in late in the third in that game. And again, the second half burst he gave them there, and that one was critical. And that was the most they've used him so far, the 12-point game that he had against the Clippers.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what you're waiting
this
for.
Is where
if it's medical, you understand it. But we haven't gotten a huge indication that it's medical.
I don't mind. I actually say that this game, more so than any other game, he looked the most physically fit and active that he has throughout. And I'm gauging it just by getting up and down the court and how quickly he's moving and just moving to different spots on both the offensive and defensive end. It looked like he's got his legs closer to back under him now. So again, you can start to ramp up those minutes. I do believe it's trust. But where I was going before was kind of that. Like, you've got and here's the Joe Mazzulla challenge. And again, are you able to really shake shit up when it's not going the way you want? If you don't love something, can you move stuff around? Could you? I'm not saying do this because everyone will say I said do this. Can you take Marcus Smart out as a starting point guard and put Brogdon in? Not because Smart sucks, but to unlock Brogdon, or to try that combination with the first unit to see whether or not that's what you might need now. Or try some different combinations. Do you put Al to the bench? Do you bring in Rob? Do you start to go double big a little bit? Do you try some different things outside of what you're doing? Because right now he's got one move: start Derek White or start Grant. Or start Derek White and then start Grant, and that's it. But can you move stuff around now? Are you able to do it and to try different combinations? That's what you're supposed to do in this situation. Or you just keep playing through it and being like, well, we got some good shots and we thought we were going to make,
Yeah, it's driving me crazy. The stupid make shots thing. And it's true, right? If they make a couple more shots in this game, it's a completely different game. But it's all about where you're getting your shots from. And adjustments and all that different kind of stuff, because they've had numerous games this year where the shots just aren't there.
Right, but I don't think he's afraid to make a drastic move, but he's not going to do it this quickly. I don't think it's something he's even thinking about right now. I think he still wants to see these guys play it through, and Rob's a big part of that. How he responds in this road trip is going to be big, especially again these first 3 games. This one, OKC, and then the one in Dallas. I mean, that's a big matchup, and if he's unavailable, or if we're not seeing him trend, into the right direction and not getting better, and then we'll have to wait and see. But then if it's the other way, I mean, it really wouldn't shock me if we see Rob back in the starting lineup within the next week or so. But again, it all depends on how the team responds.
I don't think he's going to. So he got asked about it, and he gave, I don't want to say an adamant no, but he didn't sound thrilled with the idea. And it's weird because earlier in the season,
he doesn't like the assumption. That's what it is.
Yeah, I guess that was what it was.
Assuming what he's going to do. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either way, but by the end of the season, I mean, if he has to make some sort of drastic adjustment, I don't think he's afraid to do that.
So it's different with Rob than Brogdon, because Brogdon, more often than not, is going to be in the closing lineup, and they're trying to limit his minutes anyway, which you understand in his case, because I think there's a pretty compelling medical reason to do that, given his past. So you'll eventually get to a point where he's going to close games, even though he's coming off the bench. You're still in this position with Rob, where like tonight, you don't know if he's closing or not. And if you're not getting him involved enough early and he's not making a big enough impact on the game, then he's not going to close. And I think Joe probably likes Horford more than Rob anyway because of the floor spacing and the shooting and all that. Yeah. There's just a big stylistic choice they have to make as a team of whether they're going to go back to double big, playing that majority of their minutes. I think they've played that for 5 minutes per game compared to 15 last year.
This isn't a double big. This isn't a bench anybody conversation. This is right now. It doesn't look like Joe knows what to do with Rob. Doesn't look like Joe knows what to do with Malcolm right now. And so Malcolm is struggling.
I think Malcolm's fine.
Whether it's health related or not, he's not sure where to use him. There's certain times where like he's your 3rd best offensive player, and I don't think it's a question, okay? And during times when you're struggling on offense, you would think you would be playing Malcolm Brogdon 25 to 30 minutes in a game during the whole month of December, yet his minutes were down in December, I believe. And he had some games where he's playing 16, 17, and 18, and you're getting way heavier White and Smart. I agree. We all acknowledge Smart does a really good job kind of settling things down there, but you're not giving him an opportunity to kind of run with it. Like, he hasn't had games where he's running deep. We thought there'd be games where he would close a lot more, and he's not really doing that. I don't think he really knows what to do with Brogdon. He's using him like you'd think you would use like a Neesmith off the bench, like 18 minutes, 19 minutes. Thanks for the effort, and you're done. This guy's an all-star. Like, if this guy's your 3rd best offensive player, and right now you're offensively stagnant, and you're not doing him any favors out here, running him out with a second unit that's a broke-ass second unit right now because a lot of the players aren't playing as well as they were in the early going. So he's not able to facilitate. He's not able to do as many things because there's really no threats around him right now. When those guys kind of turned into pumpkins, from a shooting perspective, it's just harder on him. So I don't think he's thriving in that unit, but you're not really trying anything different there. So I'm not saying change the starting lineup. I'm saying you got to, at a certain point, you got to do something, right? Like, you got to start messing around a little bit and you just got to try some different things. It's a long season. Like, you're supposed to experiment a little bit. Who's got it figured out in October, November, December? Nobody.
Yeah, I think it's more about Rob because he just came back than Brogdon. Because I think overall,
I think it is, but
season and it's been a success, and he's just going through whatever he's going through right now. He's hitting a whole cold spell just like a bunch of other guys on the roster. But it does say something that so many guys are going through that at the same time. And it's Smart. Smart's been great. This is the first game in a long time where he has struggled. So I'm not
people are
fixating on
quick
him.
to bury Smart, and I agree with you, Bobby. This isn't.
So he's been. I thought he was brilliant against the Clippers. So he stacked up many, many great games this year. I mean, we're talking about him in the All-Star mix. So he's safe. It's that White,
Some people
Grant,
are talking about him in the All-Star
Rob,
mix.
Brogdon mix that you're looking at there in terms of how
Well,
minutes stack up and rolls.
Yeah, we don't have answers. We don't know how to friggin' coach. All you're saying is like when something doesn't work, you tweak a little, you play around, you move.
Well, you're starting to think about moves now too, I think.
Yeah.
At this
You
point
think
in the season.
Trade Marcus. Just kidding.
No, it's the Hauser thing.
There's
It's
talk about Pritchard, trying to deal him for a piece or two or something. But
come on.
Outside of that,
who's doing that?
Right.
Who's signing that? All right, we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. First, we got to tell you a little bit about some of our sponsors here. Sorry, I just like
great team.
and I'm not even getting started on Neesmith, and it doesn't matter. I'm not doing that right now.
Neesmith Romeo Day. We could talk about that.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. But if you want to start your new year out saving a buck or two, this is what we do, right? New Year's resolutions, getting in shape. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Well, you know what else you got to do? Figure out where you're spending your money. And Rocket Money will help do that. Rocket Money, formerly known as True Bill, one of our sponsors here. You sign up, they do a lot for you, but one of the things that they do and one of the things that we're focusing on here is they really help kind of pare down a lot of your subscriptions that you might have out there. It lets you know where a lot of your money is being spent. It tracks a lot of your finances and expenses, but it really does track where all of your money is going towards subscriptions you may or may not know exist. A lot of people think they spend around $80-$90 a month. Realistically, they spend about $200 a month in subscription fees, many of which they didn't know they were paying, and many of which have gone way up since they first signed up and they were totally unaware. Rocket Money finds it for you, gives you the opportunity to cancel. It'll cancel it for you, or it might even be able to negotiate you a better rate, so you can kind of continue enjoying that subscription, but not for nearly as much as you're paying for it now. It's already saved me hundreds of dollars. I guarantee, I'm not saying it can, it will do the same for you. It's a guarantee. So go to rocketmoney.com/garden, save hundreds, cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now. I'm not ready to go full-blown trade, guys. There's enough here to fix what's going on, but they got to fix it somehow. And, again, if we had answers, we would have different jobs. So, I mean, we don't have answers, but, this is kind of like I said, go back to what we were talking about, where you start to test Joe and what he can do. There's no answers here, though, right? Like, outside of changing rotations, you're not going to start playing a guy you're not playing. Like, there's nothing on that bench that they're going to all of a sudden pull up and be like, let's start using this guy more. It's these guys, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I wouldn't have mind seeing a little Blake tonight, just to throw something else at Jokic.
But that's not an answer.
I'm with you. Yeah. It's not going to be.
That's your once a week answer.
Over the top thing. Exactly. Yeah. Just implementing him against particular matchups, especially when the offense is struggling the way it was tonight, I thought would have been a good call. But outside of that, yeah, I'm with you, John. I don't think there's anything that's gonna completely change the makeup of this rotation.
The bench has slipped. We've talked about it. You lose, I think, in this game those non-Jokic minutes that are so important. The teams have taken big advantage of against the Nuggets there. Bones Highland just killed you to start that fourth quarter. Before the delay there. And you do have to question two guys on the roster right now in terms of Hauser, who continues to slide, just not giving you anything at all right now, effectively, and Pritchard, who outside of that stretch where Brogdon and Smart were out in November, I think early November, he hasn't done anything for you. So
but you're not expecting
it's been
them.
It's been a tough conversation the whole time. But they're guys you can't use right now, John, and you could potentially swap those guys out for guys you can use, especially in such an important year like this. You are going to have to make a decision at some point with Pritchard in particular if he's going to be part of what you're doing. I love the idea of him sitting there and waiting in case there's an injury. I think that's a really tough balance to strike. because he was so good the last time Brogdon got hurt, and that's such a likely scenario given how his career's gone. But if you're fully healthy and Pritchard's a DNP and you're not getting great backup wing minutes from Hauser, there's room for some consolidation there. Like I've liked the idea of Javonte Green, and it's not a big move. It's not, again, this isn't going to swing your fortunes or anything like that. Your key players are going to do that, but it is the things you have to look at if you're not going to be satisfied with the roster you have in place.
If you're not satisfied with the roster you have in place, you're right. You're going to make small moves, and then everybody's going to scream at anybody suggesting that they do anything bigger than this. And they're going to get really mad when you suggest trading somebody who they love. But if you're going to take a big swing at it, the most logical name is Grant. Especially if you've already determined you're not going to pay him. That makes the most sense.
But then I think he's like the closest you have to a wing, though, in terms of
but
defense.
he's not a third. You're now looking for third options. You thought this is what bothers me. You got your third option with Brogdon. That's what you got. That's your third option. That's supposed to be a good one. Like
he's just slumping right now, though, John. I don't think it's.
I'm with Josue there.
It's not like Mazzulla sabotaging him.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying 20, 21, 17, 17. He had a stretch of 30s, but 21, 23, 19, 21. Those are his minute totals in December. That's not enough use for a guy who's clearly your third best offensive option by a considerable margin. Considerable margin.
You don't think they're just managing him, though?
It's a guy who's averaging 20 points a game over the last couple of years. What's that?
You don't think they're just managing him?
Maybe, but you're not getting good use out of him right now. That's all.
There are nights you want to see it bump up a little more, and he, when I talk
I
to him
need to
about
see him
this,
playing 30 minutes. 30 minutes is not ridiculous. I mean, I know it's a guy who's hurt, and you want to get there at the end, and what happens now doesn't matter. But it's a guy who averages 30 minutes over his career, and you're playing him 22. It's not. It doesn't have to be kid gloves like this. It's just a little. It's not enough. That's all. It's not. If you're looking for more offense, that's your next best offensive player.
Well, so I did talk to him about this.
Because otherwise you're talking about Grant, D. White, or Smart to try to improve and find something else or more shooting or something. And we're right back in the same Smart herder type conversations that we had last year, where you're like, move out a guard and bring in more shooting. At the beginning of the year, you thought you had the shooting, so you felt better. And when you don't have it, now you're going to want it. I'm not saying do any of these things. Those are just the conversations you're probably going to start having if they continue to struggle offensively. If January resembles December offensively, they're going to, and you head into February, those are the conversations that are going to be had.
Yeah, the minute thing with him is weird. And I asked him about it. Like, are they just managing him here? He did have that little 3-game push where he did play more there against Orlando's and Indiana in that stretch there. And they got some pretty good production from him there, even without awesome shooting. But it does feel like they're holding him back for some reason there. And is it a coach's decision? In that case, you're wondering whether there's some ability to swap him in and out with White there. And if it's not a coach's decision, it is a little worrisome that you're that conservative with him, like 15 to 20. I didn't expect that to be his minute allotment most nights. And he can hit 30, as you see here on the log, John, but more often than not, they hold him back. And it's been a weird season from him. You talk about how he looked.
It's usually on nights where he just doesn't have it, though, right? It's not like
I guess so. Yeah, they get away
most
from him
of the time.
Mazzulla
will make that. He will make that change. He's not going to say, okay, this guy has to play X amount of minutes, and we have to get him going. If a player's not, ask Peyton Pritchard, ask Sam Hauser. Obviously Brogdon's better than those guys, but Mazzulla, if he's not failing it, and he thinks that the lineup is better without him, he's not afraid to trim 10, 12 minutes.
And this might be who Brogdon is at this point in his career. Like we were all sitting here going, how do you get him for Tyson? All these guys off the end of the maybe like after all these.
What do you mean at this point in his career? He averaged 33 and 30.
He's been hurt a lot, John.
I know. But look, here's the thing. I think we somehow I think people are like, you reduce minutes on old people because they don't have juice in their legs. A guy like Brogdon can get hurt playing 20 and he can get hurt playing 30, okay? He's just you pull a hamstring at one point or another because you're prone to it. He's not a guy you manage and like the reduced minutes are what are going to save him. I don't think he's that type of player. He just may be one of those guys that like he's just going to friggin' pull shit all the time because that's just how his body is. But it's not like some old dude who's only got 16, 18 minutes and then he falls off a cliff at 20. He played again in reduced amounts of games, 34 minutes a game the last 2 seasons when he was playing. I don't think it's a minutes thing with him. I don't think you're saving him. Like, you save old dudes, like this isn't that guy. He's not that guy,
That's got to be what it is, though, because I can't think of any other reason he'd be this limited.
Because
Again,
you have Smart and White.
Smart
and White are here and they're established. What happens is I think Joe is struggling figuring out when to play him at the expense of who, and with whom, and that's where it comes down. Where sometimes you're just like, so I'm going to swap out and bring in White now, and then I'm going to put out. Then I'm going to put out Smart back in, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm out of Brogdon minutes. And then you look at the box score at the end. He's like, I only played him 19 tonight, huh? I don't think he necessarily. I don't think it's a. I put it this way. I don't think it's a plan. I don't think he's being managed. I don't think it's a plan to save him. I think it's just how they're using him as a choice.
Tough. It's tough because he's got the shooting right now. He's still. I mean, even in the struggling stretch, he's shooting 37% from 3. But White's got everything else. I mean, I think White's a better defender, better screener, better driver and finisher right now. Maybe Brogdon's a better passer too, but
Brogdon's a much better driver and finisher than Derek White.
This year. I don't know what's going on with Brogdon.
Brogdon at the rim. I don't know.
That's his key. That's where he's had a weird stretch, but that's who he is. That's what defines him. That's what he does. Like, that's what he does. He gets there. Like, that's his thing.
Even those 10-footers. Yeah.
It's just not happening. So I think they're struggling having to figure out what they're doing, and so that's why I lumped Brogdon and Rob together. I think Joe's struggling with these two. Rob, since he's returned, and Malcolm all year, exactly how best to use him. Even if he's currently struggling just on this stretch because of an illness, I think it's an issue where Joe's not really certain how to play them.
Yeah, it could be. He doesn't always finish the games, and the games that he does go off or he has his better performances, it's usually the Celtics winning by 7-10 points. It's usually a game that's already been decided before the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter. So maybe that's it as well. But I also just think it's the struggle. When he's struggling, Mazzulla will cut his minutes, but hopefully it doesn't carry over throughout this month of January because they need him. The offense needs him. He's a big part of it, obviously, and he's one of their best playmakers as well. So he's necessary for sure, whether he's scoring or setting up other guys.
Yeah, and maybe you do start to see him get in a rhythm if you give him some more time out there. So that could be a solution to kind of break him out of this stretch. Because you're right, John. He is that third scorer that you're looking for, and you could go with some 3-guard looks. And I prefer going back toward defense and really locking down. And if you're gonna depend on your transition game, you need a ton of stops. So I'm in favor of going back in the double big direction if you're gonna make a change here.
I think that's where they're likely to go.
Too.
I think that's where they're likely to go. But if you go double big, and then you're going to really, have a goofy, White and White and Brogdon out there together, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But that'll be the lineup that you have there with Rob. We'll see how and then without Rob, with Grant and with Hauser, and then obviously one of the stars. It can work. But
it cuts out Hauser probably because you can treat Brogdon like a wing, and who knows, maybe even get Pritchard out there a little bit. It's not the thing in the world.
If Pritchard plays, it's at the expense of Hauser, and Pritchard plays, and you're going with a 3-guard lineup. You're going with small ball lineup with Grant and Tatum out there as your 5 and your 4, and
it's
then
tough,
you're going with Brogdon as a wing. You're going small. If
you're gonna always be scrambling to help Pritchard out too, and I think that's a big reason Pritchard doesn't play. He saw that in that game he popped into, and the game he started as well recently. So. That's, again, why I look back at, is there a trade to be made at the bottom of the roster, consolidate that a little bit? Because then you could even bring up Kabengele into one of those roster spots if you do like a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1. And, I know JD's not going to play this year, but you do have G League guys to fill out those back end roster spots if you end up doing a trade similar to that one like last year where you sent out Bruno and Schroeder and all those guys for Tice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think they make a trade this year?
No,
Could
nothing
happen.
major. I don't think so.
Yeah, nothing crazy, but it could happen.
Yeah, I'm not counting on it either because I do think there's a value to having those guys like Pritchard and Cornette who have been here for so many years, who played in the system. But again, it's an option. If things keep sliding here, they'll keep their options open certainly. But the good thing is right now, Tatum and Brown are both playing at such a high level. Rob's playing at such a high level when he's out there. Smart again, no worries there. And Horford, I think Horford's Horford. Like, he's doing his thing. So the important guys on the roster right now are producing. White's in a shooting slump, but I don't have big problems with how he's playing right now overall. And the defense got up to number 1 over the last 7 games before.
What's interesting
this
because
collapse tonight. What happened with
Yeah.
the defense tonight? Was this just a brilliant Jokic game?
it's lazy, and when you fall asleep,
The Nuggets game too.
yeah. I think it's just a 70%. It's a 60% shooting. It's probably that simple.
That's how good they are. This could
So
be
the Celtics missed
finals,
shots and
guys.
the Nuggets made them.
This could be a pretty-
You hate doing the make-miss league thing, but sometimes it is that simple. But I mean, the Celtics didn't do themselves any favors defensively. They didn't really clamp down. They looked like they were going through the motions. They were walking around.
He
I didn't think
torched the double teams.
he torched double teams. I didn't think Rob impacted the game defensively at all in his 19 minutes. I thought he was more impactful on offense, which is strange for him. But I don't think he made a huge difference there. I don't know that Grant did his Batman impression on Jokic there. I think Jokic
just cooked everybody. This
He's
is a
just-
special Jokic right now.
he's
Hitting
7 steps
threes.
ahead of everybody. Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah, he's spinning in the
Almost
puck.
everything that he does, though, it's like you always talk about like simple things with the Celtics, like just move without the ball or do something. Like watch Jokic just do what he does. He'll run through 4 different actions, like on like in like 10 seconds, like just the stuff that he does. He'll do a dribble handoff. He'll run a flare screen, jump down to the post, draw doubles, wait to kick it out to somebody, or he'll like look for a pass because he instantly knows if I get it here, it's a hockey bing bang boom dunk. Like he's got it. It's like very, very Larry like give it to me now. I know exactly what to do, and he
Right.
does it. He sees the whole thing unfolding before him, where everybody's going, what he needs to do, how to position himself, just the teeniest little things, just kind of chipping somebody on like a semi-screen, slowing them up so they can't get over, and then rolls to the basket. I mean, he's just, his positioning on his catches, when he decides to get into his position, he'll just be floating and all of a sudden, boom, he attacks, gets really low, makes a catch, and he just the guy's pinned under the basket. He just stands up and just drops in an easy 2. Everything he does is so elite, just in terms of, his overall just understanding of the flow of the game. It looks effortless. It looks like he's just walking around out there, but he's doing so many things. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And he just looked like, again, like I said earlier, he just looked so comfortable. It just looked just not rattled at all. And the Celtics were throwing double teams at him. He's splitting them. He knows where his guys are, his shooters. He knows when to put the ball on the floor. It's just incredible. I mean, he was the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
And you think about, we always had the conversation with Tatum. And Tatum, I think, levels things out significantly with his defense, but not enough to where you're able to compete with a guy that's this much of an engine offensively. Tatum's a great scorer. We've seen him do phenomenal things this year, but he's not on this level. I mean, 12 assists, grabbing boards at this rate. And Jokic, I knock him for his defense. He's worked on it. He's manageable there. He's not fouling in a game like this. I think he's doing what he needs to do out there. And in a team concept, you can get by. They need some rim protection out there, but that's really all they're missing on this Denver roster right now. You see just how, and they didn't even have Murray tonight. Add Murray
Exactly.
to this mix.
So that's the
He
thing.
gets smashed. Yeah.
That's the thing is like, if you want to do a trade-off, well, they shot they shot great, but they're also missing like, an all-star caliber player. So, it's you got beat by a good team in a game that wasn't competitive ever. So, yeah, they shot great. It's an easy way to kind of make yourself feel better about it, but you didn't play great really on either ends of the floor all night long, and that's what you're going to look at here. Could they have remained competitive if Denver wasn't shooting lights out? Of course they could have, but you still would have been like, this was a bit of a slog of a game because there wasn't great effort defensively. It never looked like they were 100% tonight, and then offensively, just out of sync, disjointed. Again, everything was, reliant on. Sorry, I just cut out for a second. Everything reliant on the Jays there, which is bad. When we're talking about how good they've been, though, let me ask you guys this. Like, Tatum and Brown are on a ridiculous tear. This will sound like a New York Times pitch block headline, but, like, is that a bad thing? Because everyone else not being as involved, like now you start to really rely on these guys and you can't count on anybody else. Now you start to worry that like maybe I shouldn't be shooting because it's not falling, and should I give it to these guys?
I think those guys are going through that.
Yeah. But that's not a bad thing. You got to see that through. And obviously that's a position you want to be in if you're both of those guys. And this is what we wanted to see, right? Both of these guys taking things to another level, doing it as a cohesive unit. So they got to figure that thing out. But I don't think it's a bad thing. You lead by example. That's what Tatum does. Jalen's been much more vocal this year. He's taking things to another level, flirting with, scoring 30 points a game. I mean, this is huge. One of the best dynamic duos we've seen in a long time. And I think that's a really good thing. You just have to make sure that you lead the right way. And I have confidence that they will. That they'll lead.
I know. Yeah.
I keep saying this.
John. You're not sure.
No, I keep saying this too for the chat.
Yeah.
The bar is high. This is the kind of bar you're trying to stack up against a team like this. This is a potential finals opponent here. So these are measuring stick games, and we're not freaking out and saying the world's falling for the Celtics, but we do have evidence of a month-long offensive slippage that's all kind of stemming from the same thing. Missed shots that they were relying so much on earlier in the year that we talked about potentially coming back down to earth here. And then the fact that there's other great teams in this league right now. Like, you're just watching this team. We went through that stretch, John, where they're running away from every team every night. They've had great wins since. Again, that Clippers win was awesome on Thursday. But I don't think you're miles ahead of other teams in the league right here. Maybe a Denver could beat you. Maybe the Eastern Conference team that emerges. We'll see Brooklyn in a few weeks. We'll see, different teams that are in that mix. Cleveland once again. There are teams that can stack up against you and expose some of your weaknesses here. And you're going to have to kind of try to solidify some of those by the end of the year. But this isn't nitpicking saying that the Celtics are terrible. They're in that mix of 4 or 5 teams that are potential champions here. But I think in recent weeks, you're seeing that there are some things here, some issues that aren't going to allow them to just sprint ahead of the field. And that never happens. Only the Warriors have kind of done that over recent decades.
Yeah, look, we got ahead of ourselves, and I'm as guilty as anyone. Maybe it was just wanting to believe that, like, they'd kind of unlocked something with the way that they were playing offensively, kind of free and easy and loose. And it wasn't as much for me about, like, I would be, intoxicated, feeling of like all of those threes falling. It was the movement. It was working for a shot, passing up good shots for better shots, off ball movement, screening for one another, all of these things that, like, I loved that they were doing, and it was resulting in them, hitting a ton of shots as well. But it felt like the process was the thing that I liked more. And I believed that they had kind of found something, and unlocked something about themselves that they would just keep riding. But you're right. They just look like another very good team that can struggle on any given night, that's kind of closer to the pack than we thought. And that's fine because they're in the mix. They're one of, as you said, I mean, let's say 8 teams that can win the title. But a month ago, it looked like
but they're in the upper tier of that group.
They're in the upper tier of what you can safely say is about 8 teams, that can contend for sure.
Yeah. Right. And I think if you look at their record against the other teams that are in that mix, it's pretty good. It's better than we would have predicted, right? Maybe like 2 months ago when we were a week or two into the season. Wait till they play against the Bucks or let's see how they look against other teams.
And the Bucks
West.
are going through it right now. Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah,
The rest of this road trip's what? Dallas, San Antonio. You're gonna win the rest of this road trip.
OKC.
Yeah, you're gonna roll
Dallas is a cupcake.
Yeah, I don't know. Dallas is a tough one.
Dallas is in Denver.
OKC might be harder than people think it going into it too.
Yeah, the thing you're thinking about right now is what this looks like on playoff time. That's all I think about any given night at this point, because I think this team is going to roll to a 1 or 2 seed. I was looking today. I think they have like one of the 5 easiest schedules left the rest of the way. It's like a 49%
How is that
winning
possible?
percentage.
I thought they had the easiest schedule already.
Really?
Yeah.
Especially
Anyway.
December.
December got a little tough there with all those road games too. We had a big homestand as well. I don't know. That stuff always changes, but that's what I saw earlier. And again, the rest of this road trip's gonna be more manageable than Denver. I'm just saying, come playoff time, what's this gonna look like? They're still figuring that out. They still have a long way to go. But I don't know. This last month here, I just don't love the offense. And tonight was more of a defensive thing, just in one spot matchup that ended up being really tough against the player role. And that might happen against Dallas too, with Luka playing the way he is right now. But this isn't just a couple games. This is a month out here where this offense has just been really wonky.
Brutal. It's brutal. Disjointed. It's entirely
They're
up to
26th. They're not like 13th.
27th for
30th.
December. Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's been bad. You know what the Celtics might need?
Athletic Greens.
I think they might.
An ad read.
I think they might. I think they might. It's the new year. You talk about stuff you're starting the new year. I guarantee 80% of you guys are starting some sort of health kick, on Tuesday or whenever, when life starts back up again. What a great way to do it. I swear Josue's there. There he is. Look at that guy.
He went to get his Athletic Greens.
I had to plug my laptop in. There you go.
It's all good. A great way to do it. Check out our partner, Athletic Greens. It's a sponsor for the Garden Report for the last several months, and throughout the year, throughout 2023, we'll be telling you all about this terrific product that we all use on the Garden Report. It is, why take it? Again, all of the reasons you're probably going to start your health kick here in the new year. You want better health, more energy. You want to optimize your immune system. You don't want to go chasing a million different pills and vitamins. Bang, that's what this is for. It's just 75 high quality vitamins and minerals, but they're all in one place, one scoop, cup of water, and you're off and running. Takes care of all of those things that you want to focus on. As we said, recovery, focus, aging, gut health, immune system, all of that stuff. It's diet friendly. Doesn't matter if you're paleo, keto, vegan, whatever it is. No sugar at all, less than 1 gram. It's highly endorsed product with medical professionals, athletes, celebrities. It's proven out. It's a good product and it'll work for you. Give it a shot. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system. As we said, 1 scoop, cup of water, that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements. To make it easy, to incentivize you, we, along with Athletic Greens, are going to give you a free gift, 1-year supply immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you go to athleticgreens.com/garden. Once again, athleticgreens.com/garden. And you're going to get a phenomenal t-shirt. We're still doing this. You support any of our sponsors, you get a free t-shirt. That's coming directly from us. We will ship it directly to you. Does not matter where you live. We'll get it out to you. All you have to do is just DM me that you have made the purchase. I'll give you a form you can fill out, and your t-shirt will be on its way. Guys, let's put this to bed. I know everyone's going to be like, shut up, it's a game, don't overreact. We're not talking about one game here. We're talking about a continuation of trends. It's a new year. You want to start things off the right way. You face a team like Denver. You want to, put your best foot forward. They didn't. Doesn't mean anything if they, go and they clean it up. But we've been saying it doesn't mean anything for a while now with this team. And that's where it starts to get a little bit concerning is, it doesn't mean anything if you have 1 or 2 bad games, if you put it past you. But you keep doing this, you're going to end up kind of in a 50-50 split of terrific basketball for half the season and garbage basketball for another half. It's an entire month you played garbage basketball. You can't keep doing it for too much longer.
Yeah, that's what you hope doesn't happen.
And be
right?
considered serious, right?
You want to make sure this isn't a pattern, and you want to see how they bounce back against OKC, especially on the road. And then you got that big matchup against Dallas and Luka, and after what he did, the 60-point triple double. Him for that matchup, Luka versus Tatum. Sure, that's what everyone's gonna be talking about. That's where everyone's gonna be. That's the headline. But you want to see how this team responds as a whole, right? You want to see how they do on that stage on the road, and especially with the way they've been playing offensively. So hopefully this is going to be just a something we talk about next week. As it may have felt like the sky was falling, or have seemed like this could have been a pattern that would have doomed the Celtics, but they were able to bounce back in the next two games.
Well, that goes back to the Tatum and Brown conversation we're having, because those guys alone are good enough to get past Giannis alone even. And, yeah, of course, the Rockets and other teams that they've seen here. The Clippers one was really impressive. I think you had some other guys get in the mix there, particularly Rob. So that shows the power of getting even just one more guy involved there, plus Smart being great late in that game. So you do need like 4 or 5 guys. Again, we're talking about depth here. Depth's not going to matter a ton come playoff time, because you're going to tighten up and play guys bigger minutes. Brogdon, of course, as we talked about earlier. Rob, hopefully by then, is ramped up to a level where he's playing 30-ish minutes. So right now, like, this is just regular season stuff that we're talking about. But it's a matter of kind of figuring where everyone fits and trying to escape these ruts.
Yeah,
they'll go through them.
They're a game over 500 in their last 15. Since that first Miami win, they lost that second one. They're 8-7 since that point. They're 5-6 since that Golden State loss, where things kind of went off the rails. That's where they started playing bad basketball. That's where it really started to kick in there. And so that's what you've seen now since that stretch. The losses have looked bad. They've looked like a team nowhere near the one in the first half of the season. And so, I'm not sure what, but
I do have that schedule now in front of me now. So John Corrales, good friends over at BSJ, wrote this morning or yesterday. At that point, they have the 5th easiest schedule left. Now, looking at the updated numbers here, they have the 2nd easiest schedule left after Denver tonight.
Interesting.
7 of their final games, or I guess that's 8 of their last 45 are against the Spurs, Rockets, Hornets, Pistons.
Yeah.
Your tough ones are Philly and Brooklyn. A couple of Milwaukee games left too.
So Brooklyn, Bobby, is a reason why we don't do apology cams that easily, right?
Hey, what are we talking about? A month or so now?
Derek White is a reason why we don't do apology cams. But
Derek White's still playing good.
He's playing fine. He's fine. He's fine.
We're gonna have this White battle forever. And now wait till I guess two San Antonio games left. Romeo's gonna come back and they'll score a win, and Jones gonna have more ammo for this.
He's dropping 20 against the Celtics. We know it.
No, but I mean, Brooklyn's been, you're right. You've beaten some teams that are playing a little bit better now.
It's a similar situation with Brooklyn.
Denver being one of them, the Celtics absolutely friggin' punked Denver when they came here. I was at that game, great game, and just dizzying, remember I came home fired up. I'm like, this team is friggin' real.
You had your green goggles on that night. Yeah, that's right. I was like,
these guys
are waving the towel at the game.
Woo!
They manhandled Jokic. Did you see that?
They did, man. They friggin' disrespected them. That was great.
And you saw the inverse of that tonight. If we're just talking about tonight, Nuggets came out flying around. Bruce Brown was in his game, locked in.
Bruce played pretty well that first game too.
Bones
Porter
Highland
did not
was just hitting everything in this game.
Yeah.
Porter. They were a team on a mission, and Malone. I love Malone as a coach. This guy digs into them. He's at the pressers saying they have no energy. He bench 5 starters at a time.
Oh yeah, he benched Jokic last year when he had a triple-double against the Celtics. He benched his star. He's like, this guy doesn't want to be here right now, and he sat him. He had a triple-double. He sat him with a triple-double.
Yeah, that guy's a great coach. They've been trying to get this win the Celtics have given them issues.
Jaylen Brown had an interesting comment. Did you see it?
Yes, I saw that. I know what you're about
Jaylen
to say.
Brown, obviously, like Denver wanted this and they haven't beat him. So, they were puffing out their chest when they were knocking down a lot of those shots. And you had Bones getting all,
That was
getting,
weird. They had a little skirmish, then they
then they,
hugged it out.
They made up
Jaylen
right
Brown
there.
and the Nuggets, we don't get to play them again. So that's good for them. I love that shit. Good for
Me
Jaylen.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talk about a great game. He was perfect tonight.
Yeah, let's give it out. Josue,
Offensively.
who gets your brownie?
Oh, Jalen.
It's
Jalen for sure.
Jalen's
Yeah.
on it. Can you give us a minute on Jalen, John?
I look. I thought the
Yeah,
Celtics.
I'll be right back. No, I'm just
Obviously, obviously they ran out of time, and it wasn't a whole lot after the huge delay. But I was like, keep feeding Jalen, keep getting him the ball. Like why try to keep trying to get Tatum going? And I mean, obviously, if the look is there, then you do it. But then coming out of that the Nuggets timeout, you saw Jalen make that move straight to the rim. I mean, those are the type of plays I wanted to see the Celtics continue to do until he ran dry, until he couldn't score anymore because he was in the zone, even after the delay.
He's just found the spot in the offense, getting ahead. Even 3-point shooting's coming around, which is great. So that's helped him reach this new level. But leaning into those mid-rangers, John, we've talked about that. And Joe's talked about it too. He's not adverse to them. Jalen's getting to those spots and just finishing with ridiculous efficiency there. Only Kevin Durant is hitting a higher percentage of mid-rangers than Brown among guys with.
And we're talking like 58%. I mean, it's a high percentage, right?
Yep.
He was just under 55.
He's up to 55. 27 points a game now? He keeps going up and up. Keeps climbing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And, he's part of this mix that has figured out the defensive end, too. You were confident they were going to figure it out there, John, and they have, aside from tonight. So hopefully that run keeps rolling. My only other thought tonight is...
And I agree with this comment. This is what I was saying a couple of games ago, too. They're clearly back in the mix with the other teams, but I still think their top game is the best game out there, but that's just me.
That's for sure. I think that's true. Because you have these two guys that can just roll and to get to 40 points each, and then you have a mix of other guys.
They can beat you a lot of ways, and they can play any style of basketball. And
defense,
so they can do a lot, but
they can do a lot. So you still feel good about them. It's just this is such a crucial season. They have such a great opportunity in front of them right now that you do think about these little things that are going to potentially swing a championship here when they go wrong. And even things like the bottom of the roster and what they're going to do going forward here into the new year. But Jalen, another step. It's great to see. No turnovers tonight. He's just been locked in for like 30 games now in a row. And he's the most important thing, and we keep talking about this, if he rolls that All-NBA team, it's going to be really hard for him to pass up $300 million this summer. And then you got Brown and Tatum for, close to the end of the decade there. So that Brown thing we worried about even during the summer, if he's playing like this and fitting in like this and having this kind of profile, I mean, he might start the All-Star game. He'll be in Boston long term if that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen's clearly an all-star. That's not even debatable at this point.
Starter.
I don't know about starter, but he's clearly an all-star. I mean,
right. I think the debate is if he's all NBA or if he's going to be by the end.
He's right on that line. He's right on that line.
The All-NBA thing's the one that's important because it's a contract. He won't accept a contract this offseason if he's not, because it just how the cap set up. But if he gets $300 million off All-NBA, the Supermax, again, it's going to be really hard to imagine him passing that up. If he does pass that up, you'd be like, "What? What's going on here?"
Yeah, well, that's it's a thing, and it'll be a big deal, and obviously, I think it'll impact his future decisions. But I don't think it's the most important thing right now. It's figuring out everybody else. These guys are locked in, so you don't really have to worry what you have in Tatum and Brown. But it was really interesting. I sent it to you guys on a text. Like NBC had sent out that little tweet today, like, with the bench guys when they were walking in. They're like, "What do we name these guys?" And I was like, I don't think now is the time to do this. you know?
Yeah, they're not exactly thriving.
Yeah.
It's not like they even have a full unit. They just stagger in Tatum and Brown with those guys. It's not like 29. I was, when Marcus Morris came back on Thursday, Josue, I was remembering bench with attitude. It was like Rozier,
Oh, yeah.
Morris.
BWA.
Was Hayward with the bench at that point? I think he was. They benched him, even though he was being favorited.
And then everyone started thinking, oh, people are pissed now. It probably were, to a certain extent.
Aaron Baines was in BWA too. Who was the fifth? There was one more guy we're forgetting.
Rozier.
Hayward, Morris, Baines. One more guy.
What are we trying to
Oh,
get at?
Brown. Brown was on the bench then too.
Jalen's coming off the bench, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to solve all the world's problems now, but I will, I'll leave it with one thing. Play Rob more. Just play Rob more.
I can't wait for him to start.
Yeah. Play Rob more. That's what I think. I think you're getting there, but you're right. You guys.
What a stupid call on him too in the second quarter, I think. Where
So what did they say? They thought his own hand in the rim influenced the shot, so he double tapped while he was dunking.
On the rim, cradled the ball in.
The
they
ball.
call that on him all the time. It's stupid. Who cares?
That was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was dumb. All right, we're going to wrap it. We had a delay, obviously, with the Celtics, so it's now January 2nd. Enjoy your off day before everyone returns to the rest of their normal work activities. We are back. When's the next one?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We're back on Tuesday. We should have a full house here, so we'll definitely we're
missing Sherrod, man. Come back, please.
Sherrod will be back. Sherrod's had other responsibilities.
Yeah, he's on. He's enjoying himself. He's having a nice little break.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm gonna give myself a nice little break, so maybe we'll swap out Jimmy and Sherrod, and you guys can roll through Dallas. But anyway, Happy New Year to everybody who's here. We are looking forward to a great 2023. We had a fun 2022, obviously. If you think about the full calendar year and where we were, and somebody had said, look at last January's show, but you're right.
We're almost 1 year of the day that I jumped off the ship.
Yeah. Somewhere around.
Right.
I know. Somewhere around the middle of January, things changed, and then everything changed. And we're talking about a ridiculous run of basketball over the last,
What did Grandy tweet out? It was a 60-win year?
60-win calendar year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, that takes us all the way to the NBA Finals. That's something that we got to share with all of you guys. So 2022 was amazing in that regard. We hope to do it all again in 2023. So thank you guys. I'm sure you guys gave your New Year's wishes on the last show, which was our final show of the year. I didn't get a chance to be part of it. So Happy New Year to everyone. Looking forward to a good 2023. We will be whatever. I'm going to clarify something for one person in the chat that doesn't seem to get it. You just can't be a dick, dude. That's as simple as that. Okay? It's not about opinions. You just can't be a dick. And if you do it again, you're gone. The rest of you, we love you. That's great. Just don't be a dick.
Hey,
good night, everybody.
Discord, by the way.
Yep. Feel free to jump in there.